Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Back again today with another match preview for you, previewing Friday's clash with Birmingham City at home at the Hawthorns, which kicks off at 8 o'clock. Returning back from the international break is always a difficult thing, and obviously coming back off a defeat against Stoke City, the Baggies will be looking to bounce back this Friday against the Blues in this Midlands derby, we'll call it, as you notice my inverted commas there. But yeah, we'll be talking all about that game today, checking out the opposition, checking out a predicted lineup for them, and also a predicted lineup for the Baggies, and a little bit of a prediction at the end. So be sure to stick around for that, and make sure you're subscribed if you're new around here to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. We're producing regular content like this podcast with ex-players coming over the next couple of weeks, and make sure you're tuning in and subscribed for that. Drop your comments down below with your score predictions for this game. I look forward to hearing them, and make sure you're subscribed. We're heading for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I hope that you can help me out with that and get us to that landmark goal. But yeah, before we get into that, let's just dive straight in. It's Birmingham City, West Bromwich Albion, a match preview. Birmingham City, West Bromwich Albion, a Friday night kick-off yet again at the Hawthorns, back on Sky again. We're getting used to it now. They clearly are big fans of West Brom and they want to see us on Sky. But yeah, let's chat a little bit about the opposition. Let's chat about Birmingham City, our closest Midlands rivals in the Championship. And obviously a big game for both sides heading in from this international break. So let's just take a look at where Birmingham City are in the table. They are currently in 16th position, obviously 12 points gained so far, 3 wins, 3 draws and 5 losses. So not going all so swimmingly for Lee Bowyer and his side. Obviously Lee Bowyer coming into Birmingham City, I think towards the end of last season, I think it was. But yeah, it was a promising start to the season for Birmingham. They started the season well, but they have not continued that form, unfortunately, and it hasn't quite gone the way that they wanted. But yeah, if we talk about their last sort of five fixtures or so, they lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest the other day, who were seen as sort of relegation candidates or possible strugglers this season, and have been struggling so far this season. And obviously just getting Steve Cooper in as their manager, former Swansea City manager. So yeah, that's a pretty hefty loss against a side like that, who are still really coming out of the dark, as in what they've had to endure under Chris Hughton and the results that they didn't manage to get under him. But then we've got Queen's Park Rangers, who beat them 2-0 the game before. Obviously, we beat them 2-1. Just a few days before that, but they obviously went and lost 2-0 to that. Then 0-0 from Birmingham and Preston, which was a one that I think we drew with Preston the week before. So yeah, I think Birmingham are sort of following us with their fixtures and what sort of games they're playing. But you know. Yeah, things are going not too well for Birmingham City. They lost to Peterborough 3-0 the week before, lost to Fulham 4-1 the week before that. So the last 5 fixtures have not produced a victory for Birmingham City. 4 losses and 1 draw for them. So yeah, things aren't going particularly swimmingly for Birmingham City at the moment, and they're certainly not really at least, you know, if performances are racking up these results, then I suppose it becomes okay, but the performances just haven't been getting in the results recently, and I think that's a bit upsetting for Birmingham City fans, as I've seen on Twitter and on social media and stuff like that. So yeah, let's take a look at what we can expect from Birmingham as a side and as their style of play. We'll go through their predicted lineup in a minute, but let's just take a look at their style of play and how they like to play their football. So one thing that they're quite good at is they're quite clinical. I think the chances that they tend to score relatively often. When they get the lead as well, I think that in games that they've been winning from the start, they tend to be able to grind out those victories, which I think is something that needs to be taken aware of, really. Obviously, got Scott Hogan as their top goal scorer with 3 goals, but they've been struggling really to score many of the goals and create loads of those chances, because obviously they're creating few chances and they're scoring the few that they have, but they haven't been able to create a really big attacking output, which is a surprise. They've got some quite neat attacking options. Tahith Chon is a good player that I think I like, who's on loan from Manchester United. Obviously, they've got Troy Deeney coming in, who's scored 1 goal so far in the 6 appearances that he's made for them so far. So yeah, it's been a bit of a difficult season so far for Birmingham City in terms of goals, but they certainly are scoring the chances that they're getting, and the chances that they are getting, they are putting away, which I suppose is a little bit better than not putting them away in that respect. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be pleased with the way that they've managed to stick those chances in rather than leaving them leaving them over. And missing them. But yeah, counter attacks obviously they're going to be very good at. They like to sit deep, Birmingham. They like to absorb that pressure and then attack on the counter. I think we saw that especially against Sheffield United, the game that they played towards the start of the season, where they really defended deep. They took the ball to Sheffield United when they got it on the counter attack, and they managed to get forward. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be pretty pleased with the way that they've been doing that this season. So yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game from that perspective. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how West Brom and Birmingham City get on. In terms of some stats from Birmingham this season, they sit third from bottom in the possession charts of average possession this season, which is 43.3% of possession. So they sit right near the bottom of that possession chart, which is obviously a bit of a stinker for Birmingham in terms of possession. That probably proves my point, really, that they like to defend deep and they like to keep that ball in their half, and then all of a sudden they burst forward. They use the pace that they got from Chong and probably Bella as well, and get forward. Aerials won. They're one of the better teams in the league, 8th place. Obviously, we're still third in that respect in terms of aerials won, so they're very high up with that. And then tackles per game, relatively high up with that in 10th place with 14.3 tackles per. Sorry, mid-table really with 14.3 tackles per game really. So yeah, that's interesting that they're in that sort of area. Interceptions per game, quite mid-table as well with 12th place with that one as well. And their shots per game, they're creating chances, but clearly not enough to actually stick them in the net and to get to be as clinical as they want to be. Obviously, they've been clinical with some of the chances that they've got, but certainly not as clinical as and not as many chances created as they think they would probably like to. A bit more about Birmingham. Obviously, not managing to score too many goals is a bit of an issue. Defensively, they're relatively tight, I'm going to say. They got one of the reasonable defensive records in that bottom half of the table, and they're quite solid. But yeah, I think it's quite interesting to see that and how they'll get on with defending against West Bromwich Albion. Obviously, we've had quite a clinical attack. But yeah, let's take a look at Birmingham's lineup. This is my predicted lineup for them. Obviously, not sure about some injuries. Obviously, as team news hasn't quite been announced yet. Obviously, that tends to come out the day before about who's definitely playing and who's definitely not playing. So in goal, I've got Matthias Skarkic, who is on loan from Wolverhampton Wanderers, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, hoping to stick a few past him in the net on Friday night. Then we've got Mark Roberts, who's playing in a 3-back formation, a 3-4-3, I think they're going to go for, with Harley Dean and Pedersen in the left centre-back position. I think they're going to go for Collan, right wing-back, who I think has been really good this season, I should add. And Jeremy Baylor, who's been playing as a bit of a left wing-back, left midfielder sort of combination. Then Ryan Woods in the centre midfield position alongside Sunic, who I think we were looking at one point in the transfer window. And I think probably just behind the two strikers is probably going to be Tahir Chong and then Scott Hogan and Lukas Jutkovic up front as well. I think that's going to be one. I think in this 3-4-3 formation, they do look pretty decent. They've won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1, which is certainly better form than they've had over the past few games. So I would, if I was to advise Lee Bowyer, which is not something that I'm doing, is to keep that going and to try and get that 3-4-3 working, because it will match up quite nicely with West Bromwich Albion's formation, with our formation really, I think. In terms of games that we've played against Birmingham City recently, that some of you may remember, some of you might be taking a look at, is Birmingham 0, West Bromwich Albion 4, which was a pre-season friendly at the end of July. I'm sure you remember that was the first real glimpse we got of Valerian Ismail's style of play for those who hadn't been going to the friendlies live, which was nice to see, and obviously a really good win, and we really put them to the sword in that particular game. So a lot of Albion fans, including myself, I shall admit, got a little carried away after that one, and I think it showed a nice sign of things to come. We played out a 0-0 draw with them just after lockdown. I think that was the first game after lockdown as the Project Restart began. A 0-0 draw there. That was our really sluggish start back from that. Then a 3-2 win against Birmingham just before, and that was a Charlie Austin double. I think if you remember, he came off the bench and he put in a great performance there. So yeah, really good from Charlie Austin in that particular game, which was good to see. Probably one of the better memories we've had of Charlie Austin. Then another 3-2 win for Albion, which was away at at home against Birmingham, which I think was the one where I think might have been the one where Livermore had that goal that he scored, possibly. I can't quite remember. I think that was it's the one where Livermore came forward and he just unleashed this shot into the bottom corner, which was a lovely goal. Then and then a draw and then a win in the FA Cup about 6 years ago, which is I think Victor Anichebe scored a couple in that game, so that probably says a lot about the way that game went. But yeah, that's my sort of overview of Birmingham. We can expect good counter-attacking football, so it's best to keep a couple more men back and perhaps try and keep the ball a bit better and hope not to allow Birmingham to absorb that pressure and keep out, really. So yeah, looking forward to this one. And Albion's lineup, I think, is going to be relatively similar to the one that we saw last time out. In my opinion, I would go for a slightly different lineup, but not massive changes in terms of the one that went out there and lost against Stoke the other week. I think that I think I've took just the one change in this lineup for Albion. But let's just talk you through who I've gone for. So I've gone for Sam Johnston in goal. I've gone for Shemi Ajayi, Carl Bartley, and I've made the change of Matt Clark coming in for Adam Reach at left centre-back. Then I've got Connor Townsend at left wing-back, back in that position where I think he's much more effective than at centre-back. Then Alex Mower, then Jake Livermore, Darnell Furlong over at right wing-back. Then a front three of Carlisle Grant, Callum Robinson, and Grady Dean Garner. So yeah, that would be interesting to see how they get on against this Birmingham City back three, and then obviously how we get on against Birmingham City's front three. So it's going to be very interesting and a very interesting game indeed. But yeah, that probably concludes our match preview for today. If we just go for a quick prediction before I leave you, I'm probably going to go for a 1-0 West Brom win, and I think it will be an own goal. I'm not going to tell you who from, but I think it's going to be an own goal from Birmingham City. So yeah, that will probably be my prediction. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the game, what you're looking forward to seeing, and if you make any changes to the lineup. I'm personally bringing Matt Clark back in, but let me know what you think. But that does bring me to the end of the Baggies Podcast match preview for this week over on our exclusive to our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe if you've enjoyed, and make sure you drop us a like if you've enjoyed that as well. But that does bring me to the end of this match preview. I'll see you in the next one. Podcast will be out on Monday regarding the Birmingham City game, and keep an eye out for all of our ex-player episodes over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you're following us on Twitter to get involved in our Guess the Guest. But yeah, let's see you in the next one. Goodbye.